I sat on this.
Hit it,
Little
should be
musical
fine.
chairs.
There it
I-
is, green light.
You didn't have a book.
Sometimes you like over here.
You don't bring a book.
That's right.
Welcome to the Garden of the
I don't know.
Spirit, a class
Yes.
studying apples from
It's
the
not mine.
orchard. This
said to
class
bring
meets
it.
in Longmeadow, Massachusetts, and is held in memory of Malka Ruth Bas Moshe, Margaret Vogel of blessed memory. Apples from the Orchard contain selections of teachings of Kabbalah from the Arizal, Rabbi Yitzchak Luria, based on the weekly Torah portion, superbly translated and explained by Rabbi Moshe Wisniewski. Well, we're up to the top of 679.
Yes.
We're talking about the differences between weekdays, when we have special mitzvahs, of how we act, of how we work the field, and compared to the Shemitah year, when we have to let the land stay the way it is, and compared to Shabbos, ouch, and Shabbos, when we're not allowed to do any of the work.
Last that I recall was with the explanation regarding splitting of the Yam Suf and with prayer.
Was that last?
No, that was the time before.
That was
I was
before.
asking-
I think you
asking
missed
if
the
could
last
fill-
one.
Yeah, I did. I was
Yeah.
asking if you could fill in that gap for me.
Offhand, no, I can't.
You can't.
I would, if I could,
Okay, that's honest.
but I can't.
It was 2 weeks ago. He doesn't remember.
Okay. Last week we had a very interesting class. Remember?
This is really unbelievable. If you take a look at 678,
Yeah.
at the top here,
Well, this is what we did last week.
this piece here, and here,
Are you able to review it briefly?
well, briefly, we are required to rectify Zerampen by means, as I remember, by means of our deeds, but that only brings them back to back.
But on-
Zerampen and Nukva.
But on Shabbos, our prayers bring them up so they go face to face.
On Shabbos, our prayers can bring them face to face, right? So,
Up to the level of Abanima.
up to the level of Abanima. And
On Shabbos, they turn around face to face themselves.
then by virtue of,
On the
yeah.
Shemitah year,
right,
they need our prayers
on the sabbatical year, they need our prayers, but on Sabbath,
to turn
they
around.
turn around
We also looked up.
naturally.
We also looked up the Shabbos prayer, Yoel, that we say after L'chadodi before Baruch Hu, Kegavna Dinu Nisachdin Le'ela, just as they unite above, so too Malchus unites on Shabbos. We read that in English. We also last time discussed a very interesting passage. I think it's in the Zohar. It talks about the snake.
Right, standing at the biting, first it was
There's-
biting, to give birth,
There's a doe
the doe.
that's unable to give birth.
He was-
Open, though. That was 2 times.
He
ago. I
was here for
remember
that. He
That's,
was-
that's with the Miss Yam Suf.
That's the
That's the
answer.
splitting of the Yam Suf.
But it does.
And
It-
because we again brought it up last
Alan
week.
is right to this point.
Yes.
On Shabbos, you get face to face naturally, but the prayers rise up to Abba Nima
Right.
on
It's
Shabbos.
the prayers that elevated the
They
level of
elevate
Abanima.
it. They'll elevate Zerampen and
The
and
prayers from the
Malchus.
week? The prayers from the
Shabbos-
week? or
Shabbos.
only
Prayers during
prayers?
Shabbos.
During Shabbos. On Shabbos.
No, the prayers are elevating the
Rabbi.
spheres.
Yes, the prayers elevate on Shabbos. Our
And the
prayers are
The prayers
to
only of
elevate
Shabbos or prayers of also the week?
No, Shabbos.
Shabbos.
Just on Shabbos.
I want to make sure my question is understood. What I mean to say is the potential, I'm envisioning all the prayers of the week being gathered up and being raised up.
No, just the
on
prayer,
Shabbat?
just the Shabbos prayers.
Just the Shabbos prayers.
Just the Shabbos prayers.
In the sabbatical year, in a sabbatical year, by virtue of their prayers, they turn face to face. This is not necessarily on Shabbos.
Okay?
Gotcha.
Okay.
I was distracted
Let's
by
continue
the
6,
shooting
7.
rockets in Israel. Wow.
Yeah, I knew that.
What?
The shooting rockets. in
Shooting
Israel.
rockets from Gaza to Israel.
Take them out.
You can have an app on your phone.
Just take them
When there's
out.
a attack.
Enough of this.
So we have to learn even
Take
stronger.
them out.
Okay, 679. Jim, ready at the top.
Yes. Thus, what is accomplished on weekdays by
Good.
means of our prayers, turning them in their place to face each other face to face. So that's our prayers do that during the week. He is right in that sense.
Right.
Is accomplished of itself on the Sabbath. Our contribution on the Sabbath is to elevate them and to ensure that on this higher level, they also remain face to face. That's when it goes up to Abba Nima.
Neva, right.
So the prayers that we do during the week turn Zeranpin and Nukva
Face to face.
face to face. It's the second stage. First, they get back to back by our deeds, our mitzvot, and our prayers turn them face to face. On Shabbos,
We elevate
our
them.
prayers elevate them to Abba and Ima. Elevate Zeranpin and Nukva. That's a better, clearer way.
Maybe that's another of the many reasons for giving tzedakah before davening. It's a mitzvah.
Why? Explain.
You give tzedakah, which is a mitzvah, which brings Zeranpin and Nukva back to back, and then through your prayers, you turn them face to face.
Okay.
No,
Could be.
Could be.
you were just saying. I'm just
Yeah,
running with what you.
Yeah,
what
I
you
just, that's right.
we don't know.
Is there a correlation between this and the Kruvim?
Explain.
Well, Kruvim were on the ark, right?
Mhm.
When Hashem was pleased, they faced each other. And when he was not pleased, they turned away. So,
It's exactly correlation
okay,
to the Kruvim.
all right,
This is exactly what the Kruvim are symbolizing.
Beautiful.
Okay, good point.
On festivals, Rosh Chodesh, and the intermediate days of festivals, these parts of Fim also experience various ascents through our prayers. Although in these cases their ascents are not the same as is known. Okay? It follows that were we to do work on these days, each one according to its level, it would appear, God forbid, as if we were implying that there is something missing above. The supernal realms require some rectification on our part. And this has an effect of causing a defect above.
Of actually causing a defect.
So
We see here.
we see here a well-known psychological principle in action, namely, implicating a deficiency in another actualizes that deficiency in them, which is the self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah, we did read this
We
page
read
last.
this because we talked about working on Shabbos and the serious defect it causes. Now, I don't remember if that was here.
No, it was
But-
earlier.
I think it was earlier, but it flows
was
in the
earlier.
same,
No, we
time.
did learn this.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm not sure of what you just mentioned.
I remember, what I mentioned was that at some point we learned that how serious, when we were talking about the
Yeah, we
work
read
in the
this.
temple.
What it means is,
Oh, we stopped at the bottom,
Yeah,
which
we
says
stopped
we
at
will
the bottom,
now,
we will now
where we
explain.
will now
but that's,
explain. That was
that's
the new,
okay.
that was the new
What we
thing.
said is that we have the mitzvahs for the agricultural mitzvahs.
Right.
Right.
And so we have them during the weekdays. Why? Because there's a defect or deficiency that needs to be corrected. On Shabbos, the deficiency doesn't exist. If we were to do the agriculture and follow these mitzvahs on Shabbos, here's the deficiency isn't there, but it's good enough during the weekday. We're showing that there's a problem.
We created the
We,
deficiency.
Right.
how do we create a problem? We show that there's a problem when there really isn't a problem.
Right.
We act as it's like it's exactly like asking, in an interview, saying, when did you stop beating your wife?
Right,
Right, yeah.
right.
You've just done the damage.
That's the self-fulfilling prophecy.
That is a self-fulfilling prophecy. So it's showing that there's a deficiency here when there really isn't. That itself is a deficiency.
Yep.
And then in the next part, we talk about in the Shemitah year you can gather crops that grow by themselves during Shemitah year, but not ones that man has grown themselves.
Okay?
That's the next paragraph.
Yeah.
That's the next paragraph.
Okay, Jim, go ahead.
Inasmuch as in the sabbatical year the masculine waters are elicited by themselves, as we have mentioned, all agriculture work is forbidden. Plants that grow on their own, however, may be gathered because they grow by themselves. Whatever man grows through his own effort is forbidden.
So what's the explanation of that? The stuff that grows on its own.
Doesn't need man's help. You're not violating the laws of growing something because it grows without man's help.
Okay. So in Kabbalistic terms,
So you're not making,
we have two directions for the relationship or connection between the physical world or between man and godliness when it's when the divine flow of energy begins from above or is initiated by above. That's referred to as masculine waters. When the flow begins from people on their own, that is called feminine waters. And it's similar to a physical relationship. If the male or female kind of initiates the relationship or the intimacy, and so this is compared to the same in the same idea. If it begins from if the inspiration comes from man, from down below, that's called feminine waters. If the inspiration begins from above to send a divine flow to build a relationship between heaven and earth, between man and God, when it begins from above, that's called masculine waters. So plants that grow on their own is like
Feminine waters. Feminine waters.
No, plants that grow on their own
masculine waters.
are the masculine waters. When it's man grows through his own effort, that's
feminine.
feminine waters, that's
Right.
forbidden.
Right.
No, what grows on their own is allowed.
That's right, because
Right.
masculine.
Because masculine waters.
Whatever man
They're
grows is
elicited by themselves. See,
Right.
the masculine waters are
Elicited
elicited
by
by
themselves.
themselves, so
Yeah.
growing on their own.
they're allowed.
All right. Rudy, you going to read? Busy.
He's dissy at the bottom.
Okay,
All
all.
right, so now we're starting a new.
Yes, we're at the
Now,
bottom
yeah,
of
we will.
this is
679.
We actually, we're up to here, but it's good
Yeah.
we reviewed.
Okay.
Now we're gonna talk about
Let's start, we
boundaries.
will now.
We will now explain the mystical reason why a person is permitted to go outside the Sabbath boundary on weekdays during the sabbatical year. The question is, if the whole year is called the sabbatical year, why doesn't the prohibition of venturing beyond the Sabbath boundary apply during such a year on weekdays as well as on the Shabbat? Sabbath.
On Shabbos, the Torah says, and specifically regarding the mon, al yetzei ish mimkomo b'yom hashvi. I think it says on b'yom hashvi on the seventh day, maybe b'yom Shabbos on the Shabbos day. I don't remember. A person should not leave his place, and so our rabbis understood this to mean that a person should stay within his tchum. Tchum means within your boundaries.
Probably community boundaries. Probably commute.
I forget how they came up with 2,000.
Within your area.
How'd they come up with 2,000? Where they derive 2,000 amot from?
I don't remember specifically. 2,000 amma is, I think, one meal. It's one unit. But I think by Torah's there's different understandings exactly how it's to be understood. But at the end of the day, it is you have to stay within 2,000 meal of the place where you start Shabbos, or within the town that you spend Shabbos, and not to go more than 2,000 meal outside of the town.
2,000 amma.
2,000 amma, thank you. 2,000 amma out of the town. And this is called Tchum Shabbos. Tchum, I don't know how to translate. A boundary or designated area. Tchum are limits, like city limits.
Doing so would appear.
And one moment. Okay, I don't see here that we talk about the word tchum. There are special connections to the word itself, but we'll see if we go there. Okay, go ahead.
Doing so would appear to be included in the prohibition of working the earth, since the person is treading upon it. But in light of what we have explained above regarding the mystical meaning of the prohibition of walking beyond the Shabbat's boundaries, it will be fully explained. As we explained above, Netzach and Hod are the supernal legs that walk on the supernal ground, which is Malchut. When we walk outside the Shabbat boundary, we cause these supernal legs to go out into the domain of evil. This is the mystical meaning of the prohibition of traversing this Shabbat boundary. Now we know that the prohibition of Shabbat boundaries does not apply to a ship sailing in the sea, and is permitted to be a passenger on a wind-powered boat on the Shabbat, even if a person will thereby travel many miles. The reason for this, given in the Talmud, is that the prohibition against traveling beyond the Shabbat boundary does not apply above a height of 10 handbreadths, and the sea surface is higher than 10 handbreadths above the seabed. The mystical explanation of this is as follows. The sphere closest to the realm of evil is Malchut. As long as the supernal legs, i.e. Netzach and Hod, are not touching the supernal ground, i.e. Malchut, no matter where they walk, it is not considered going beyond the Shabbat boundary. This is so even if they travel many miles, as long as they remain more than 10 handbreadths in the air above the ground. There is no way they can enter the realm of evil unless they are on the ground. Only then, if they traverse the Shabbat boundary, they contact evil.
So,
Very interesting.
so the ground is Malchus, but here you're not. But Malchus is only within 10 handbreadths of the ground. This also applies not only in the sea, but on the regular ground too. So above 10 handbreadths above, 10 tefachim above the ground is Makam Ptur, is an exempt. It's not one of the domains of Shabbos.
I wonder what happens if you walk on stilts.
Still walking on the ground.
You're on the ground, aren't you?
No, but you're
The
10,
stilts are
you're-
on the
No,
ground.
but you are 10. Your body is 10 handbreadths.
What you're
above.
doing is, though, you're moving the stilts.
That's true. You're
And
moving
they're on-
stilts.
and they're
And
on
now
the
question
it's trend-
is-
now it's moving in
They're
Rosh
treading.
Hashanah.
The question is, if you have posts, okay, small air with small surface area, and those are 10 hand, and those are the surface of the post is above 10 handbreadths above the ground. Are you? And let's say you have a series of these. Are you allowed to walk across them?
For 2,000 amma. The next question would be,
Or
would you allowed to transfer
or for
items?
carrying.
For carrying.
Transferring
But
items.
I don't think you can transfer from a Makam Patur to a Makam
Off,
Patur.
offhand, that you are allowed to do Makam Ptur,
You
but
are?
offhand, offhand, I don't remember the details.
Can you do a Makam Patur to a Rishus Rabim or Rishus Yachid?
You're not allowed to, but
But rabbinic law.
we don't.
Ideal right says.
Right. Something like that.
Okay.
The difference is, if
Whatever
you're
you said.
walking, the difference is if you're walking outside and there's no Eruv. and you find something in your pocket,
Yeah.
you're carrying something that you didn't realize you're carrying. So we don't stop walking. If you stop, then you're causing the thing to be at rest. You're completing a malacha. But so if you can go back without stopping, if you come to a red light, you got to walk in a circle. Ideally, if you could go back to where you started and without stopping and go in there. But if you can't do that, then you leave it like on a small surface, 10 handbreadths above the ground. For example, a mailbox. Even that little surface above the mailbox. I once did over here on Tiffany. I think I left something there. Whether it was a napkin, I don't remember what it was. So while I was walking, I put it on the mailbox. Yes.
Is there another? Isn't there three hand breaths? Is also. What am I thinking of?
Not here. And the other thing is, if you don't have something like that, then you just go to your destination. You make sure not to stop. And that's in an enclosed place. Okay, in any case, so 680, Yoel, you want to continue?
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
We're at the,
680 on the top.
last,
no, we just did
Now we know
680.
that's prohibition of. Oh, we did. No, now Malchut is 10 hand breaths
Yeah.
tall.
Malchus is 10 handbreadths tall.
Now Malchut is
681.
10 hand breaths tall. Like Austria, Malchut comprises 10 sub-spherotes. I'm gonna read that.
Yeah.
Like all spherotes, Malchut comprises 10 sub-spherotes, each of which is manifest in one handbreadth of height above the ground.
The
Wow. Very nice.
Rebbe, in almost every occasion that he spoke, and he would conclude with include each speech with a bracha for coming of Mashiach. He would very often say that Mashiach should come lower or within the 10 tefachim above the ground. In other words, not that Mashiach should come, but it should be aloof, it should be some spiritual, it's not fully practical, applied. He says Mashiach should be here in the literal sense within, lower than 10 handbreadths and 10 tefachim. And that is here within Malchus.
Within Malchus.
He would say that very often.
So that he should be here with us in this place, and
Not not stuck in Hod and Yesod. Should come all the way down into Malchus, into the world. All right. 681.
10 tefachim is about how high?
It's about 35 inches.
3 feet?
Huh?
About 3 feet.
A yard.
Yes. Or maybe 32 inches, 35 inches.
A meter.
It's lower than, meter is what?
35.
Meter is 39 inches and change.
Yeah, 39 change.
So this is lower than
More
3
like a
feet.
yard. It's more like a yard.
A little less than, okay.
Yeah, less than a yard. About a yard, a little less. Okay, 681.
10 spheros are hovering a yard above the ground.
Malchus.
Malchus is.
Malchus.
Malchus. Remember, we said that Malchus is, one of the metaphors for Malchus is Eretz,
Right.
the ground,
Yeah.
or the land. Okay, this then.
This then is why there is no injunction against traversing the Shabbos boundary above a height of 10 handbreadths. And even if a person walks this way for many miles, he is still within the realm of holiness, and within this airspace is just walking around within the realm of holiness.
Why? Because we said,
Because he's above
He's above
10,
Malchus.
he's above Malchus.
because Malchus is the closest to evil.
because
Right.
Malchus is closer to evil, yeah.
When we walk outside the Shabbos boundary, we cause Netzach and Hod, the supernal legs, to go out into the domain of evil. Okay, getting goosebumps.
You're still in the Shabbos boundary, above the 10
Right.
handbreadths.
2.2 miles, is it? Something like that. You can't walk further
I think it's about a kilometer,
So it's 6/10 of a mile.
if I'm not mistaken. Well, the Hebrew word is mil. I think it's about a kilometer, or, hold on,
Mill is
A mile?
1,000.
one moment.
Mill is 1,000.
Oh, like kilo, like,
Or maybe it is closer to a mile. It could be close to a mile. Okay. Go ahead.
Based on what we have now explained regarding the prohibition of venturing beyond specific boundaries on the Shabbos, we can understand how it is permitted to travel beyond the Shabbos boundary on weekdays during the sabbatical year. During the sabbatical year, all walking is considered to be above a height of 10 handbreadths, which, as we explained, is permitted even on Shabbos.
what? So during Shemitah on Shabbat, you can walk outside, you can walk beyond the 2,000 amot? Why?
You didn't say that.
Doesn't say that.
Based on what we have now explained regarding the prohibition of venturing beyond the specific boundaries on Shabbat, we can understand how it is permitted to travel beyond the Shabbat boundary on weekdays during the sabbatical year. During the sabbatical year, all walking is considered to be above the height of 10 handbreadths, which, as we explained, is permitted even on the Shabbat.
So they're saying that, but saying during Shemitah, you can do walking
You can
and go
walk
beyond
past-
past the boundary.
on Shabbat.
That's what it says.
That's what I'm reading.
That's what it says.
I don't know. I don't know. It could not
No, that's what it says. It says
Um,
you can walk beyond the Shabbos boundary
during Shemitah
during Shemitah.
during the week, but I'm asking: is it also during the Shabbat during Shemitah?
I think it doesn't say that. I think it just says
During the
that
sabbatical
during the
year,
sabbatical year, all
walking
walk
is considered to
to be
be
above
above the height of 10
10
handbreadths, which is permitted even on the
Even on-
Sabbath.
as long as you're
That's what it says.
yeah.
So it is. So on Shabbat in
Yeah.
Shemitah,
You can walk beyond.
you can walk beyond 2,000. Rabbi, you hear that?
That's what it says.
No.
That's what it says.
That's what it says. 10 handbreadths is what
The
you said,
halacha of
it's
2,000
About
amot
35 inches high.
Is
10 handbreadths is 35 inches, so about a yardish,
It's about a yard.
about a yard.
this
So
is
if
a
you're
handbreadth.
Yeah.
So 10 of them, we're talking about a yard,
Is this?
It's the width of your.
30,
Yes.
about
Is that what
36
you guys
inches.
just talked about? Because I remember it being from your palm to your finger.
I don't think so. I think it's the
A lot
width.
bigger.
We were,
I think it's the width of your palm.
Rabbi,
Yes.
what is a handbreadth? What is a handbreadth? How do you measure
It's
handbreadth?
the length of your hand or the
Like
width
this.
of your palm? Yeah, so it's,
About
thought it
three,
was from-
about 3.5 inches or less.
so it's the width.
Like this.
That's the handbreadth?
Yes.
The width or the height?
From here to here.
So that's what
That's
it said
width.
to you, Joel. It's the width.
that's width.
It's always,
Width.
I don't, why do I remember this?
you know,
What?
Why do
No.
I remember a handbreadth like this?
Don't know.
it's from a different life. Handbreadth is always the width.
So it's about 36 inches approximately, 10. So it's about a yard.
You're thinking about like horses. Okay.
It's about a yard.
Hmm?
You're walking above that.
What's,
I'm trying to picture the 10 handbreadths and some object above 10 handbreadths, okay? And somebody walking on that object, which is what we're talking about to some extent. But it elevates you from the evil, which I get that.
all right. Want to go ahead? This is because?
This is because on Shabbos, as we've explained, Netzach, Hod, and Yesod ascend together with Malchus to the level of Chesed, Gevurah, Tiferes.
Yeah.
Thus, the supernal feet, Netzach and Hod, are treading on the supernal ground, Malchus. The prohibition of traversing the boundary therefore applies.
What?
That's a little confusing. Hold on a second.
Malchus ascends with them.
Yeah, Malchus goes with them,
So they're still walking on
so
Malchus.
you're still walking
Yeah,
on
Malchus.
Malchus.
Okay, but
Therefore, the prohibition of traversing the boundary therefore applies, which you can't do.
On Shabbos,
please go ahead.
Yes.
which was confusing as to the paragraph above it. That's where
Right.
I got lost. Because it seems to be different. It talks about the sabbatical year, and it's permitted on the Sabbath. Now we're outside of the sabbatical year, I assume. We're talking just Shabbos. Yes?
Do you want to read the next paragraph? It's kind of
But-
the
but-
converse.
But in the sabbatical year,
Okay.
Malchus does not ascend
Okay.
together with them, for they ascend to the level of Chesed Gevurah Tiferes, while she remains below in their former level.
Okay.
Thus, the supernal legs are not treading on her. This is exactly similar to the case of the ship described above, in which travel beyond the boundary is permitted, since the prohibition does not apply above 10 handbreadths.
So-
in the sabbatical year, you walk anywhere.
On Shabbos,
what it says?
Netzach Chod Yisod's here, Malchus is here, Netzach Chod Yisod is elevated, and Malchus is elevated.
Understood.
So it's still walking around on Malchus. But in the Shemitah year, they rise up, Netzach Chod Yisod, but Malchus stays down here.
Yeah.
So it's like the ship.
Yeah.
It's like the
Right.
ship that's
Blowing
above
for
10
the wind.
handbreadths. There is space between Netzach Chod
Yeah, I
Yisod
understand.
and the Malchus in the Shemitah year. And that's why you're allowed to walk around in Shemitah.
But are you allowed to walk around on Shabbat of Shemitah?
On Shabbat of Shemitah, Malchus goes up. 2.
So you can't.
So you can't.
I thought it said you can. What do you do with this based on now what we've explained? Prohibition of venturing beyond boundaries on the Sabbath. We can understand us permitted to travel beyond the Sabbath boundary on weekdays during the sabbatical year. During the
Weekdays.
During the sabbatical year, all walking is considered to be above a height of 10
Okay, let me
handbreadths,
show you again,
which
folks.
we explained is permitted
Folks,
even
listen
on the
up.
Sabbath.
Listen up.
So
Again.
that-
Again.
That last
On
sentence
listen up.
says-
So I read it differently.
On Shabbos, Netzach Chod Yisod rises and Malchus rises.
I got that.
Okay. On Shemitah, Malchus does not rise. So there's a distance. You got these 10 handbreadths.
Malchus of Atzilus.
We're all talking about everything here is Atzilus.
Everything is Atzilus.
Yeah.
Oh.
Stays below, and therefore you're walking around. It's like you're walking around above the 10 handbreadths, which is not a problem. But on Shabbos, even during a Shemitah year, the Malchus rises up again.
That's not what it says.
No, when it says all, it means not counting Shabbos.
Yes.
During the Sabbath.
But it says is permitted even on Shabbat.
It says right
Look at this. It says even on Shabbat.
That's where I get.
You can write,
I get-
you
I get
can
it.
write, but if you
No.
can, if you could walk.
All what? Listen to me.
Is
Let me
even on
explain.
Shabbat.
You got, all walking is considered to be above a height of 10 handbreadths. On Shabbos, you're allowed to walk around 10 handbreadths off the ground. That's not a problem. There are 2 examples that we gave. One example is a boat.
Yeah,
A boat is on the water. It's 10 handbreadths above the seabed.
yeah.
And therefore, on Shabbos, that's okay. The second example is if you have posts that rise 10 handbreadths above the ground, and you hop from one post to the next, that's permitted because you're on Shabbos because you're 10 handbreadths above the ground. Okay, so that's what's permitted on Shabbos. But if you're on the ground, it's forbidden on Shabbos.
So the
Okay.
posts need to be
That doesn't
fixed.
answer the question, though, Rabbi.
Do the posts need to be
Because
fixed,
it doesn't.
right?
That doesn't answer.
What do you mean
the-
fixed?
You're not talking about walking on stilts.
No, because then you're carrying the
Right.
stilts.
You have to have fixed posts that
Because
are
then,
on,
because the posts you're moving the posts
it's a fixed,
under 10 handbreadths.
fixed post.
Hebrew word
fixed.
says that, because in the Hebrew it says even with Shabbos hooked there, it's hooked.
Afilu b'Shabbat.
Yes, on Shabbos you're allowed to go above 10 handbreadths. In the laws of Shabbos, if you're walking 10 handbreadths above the ground, for example, if there are posts on the ground and you're able to step from post to post,
Yeah, that's
that's
right.
allowed
correct.
on
Yeah,
Shabbos.
Yeah, that's right.
Being in a boat is allowed on
it's
Shabbos.
very-
If you're
easily
Tarzan, you
misunderstood.
could swing from tree to tree as long as you're 10
The
handbreadths
sentence-
above the ground.
The sentence
Correct.
is
Thank you.
is
You like
easily-
that one?
I
the
love that
sentence
one.
is easily misunderstood.
I want to get it out, but
If you look, it's,
Well,
it's true.
not all of us have been
During
Tarzan.
the sabbatical year,
little hard for
all
us to make that
walking is
connection.
considered to
Cheetahs,
be
it
above
still
a height
applies.
of 10 handbreadths, which, as we explained, is permitted even on the Shabbat. Prior, it's permitted to, yeah.
What was her name? Jane?
Jane.
Okay.
What did Tarzan say when he saw the elephant coming?
You're Tarzan. You can swing.
What did Tarzan say when he saw the elephants
Fence,
coming?
You can walk on a fence or a boardwalk.
A fence.
A fence.
Or how about a boardwalk?
What's a
A
boardwalk?
boardwalk is
A
on the ground.
boardwalk, no, a boardwalk,
Boardwalk's not on
I don't know what a boardwalk
a
is.
You know,
boardwalk,
like on
On
you
a
know,
beach.
the boardwalk.
like in
on a beach,
Atlantic City.
Oh, the boardwalk?
boardwalk, yeah.
Boardwalk.
Because it's on the
that's above.
over the water?
No, it's
No,
above the ground.
It's above the sand, let's say.
35 inches. If you're walking
Above
on a
the-
boardwalk that's above 35 inches, so you can do that on Shabbos, you're saying, so.
Don't know. Don't know.
But that's what you just said.
It may have.
problem is
I
a
didn't say a
lot-
boardwalk. I said posts. Posts have a narrow surface.
Between a post and a boardwalk.
A lot of
Posts have a
times,
narrow surface. Posts have a narrow surface.
So it has to be a narrow surface?
I think so.
This is Minaraisa or Urbana?
Doraisa.
It says in the Torah it has to be a narrow surface?
Doesn't say it in Torah, but that doesn't mean it's not Doraisa. It's
Oh.
Doraisa. It's a.
Wait a second.
I want to say something, which
You'll say it afterwards.
Yes, it's still Raisa. Okay, it's the, just a second. It's not only significant, or it doesn't only matter for walking on Shabbos and being able to walk, it also has to do with the laws of carrying on Shabbos. And what's considered picking up and what's considered putting down, and it's a whole area of discussion, which is beyond the scope of this class. I could give it, but it's off,
So all the Yidden
way
walking
off.
on a boardwalk on Shabbos is
But what?
something all the Yidden walking on a boardwalk in Coney Island on Shabbos,
No,
that's not permissible?
it is, because they're.
You're allowed to walk
I don't.
It is.
You can walk wherever you want.
as long as you don't walk more than 2,000 amas out of away from the city or away from where you are.
But during the Shemitah year, you can.
No.
No.
That was a
He's on
misunderstanding.
first.
No, that was a
Rudy, you
You
misunderstanding.
can't during a Shemitah year. Should I start over?
No.
Should I try to start over?
I just read.
Just listen. One of the problems with a boardwalk, though, when a boardwalk starts, where does it usually start?
Starts from the ground.
It starts at ground level, then it works up,
Yeah.
I
and you're
didn't.
starting at ground level.
Yeah, but that's a whole different problem.
That's a whole. That's why
I
it's a
didn't
whole
go
different-
there. I didn't go there.
But I'm saying
There's
that's
oth-
why it would work for a boardwalk.
That's
It's a whole different problem.
That's a different issue.
That's not it.
That's a different issue.
It's not because of
That's
that.
a different issue.
There's other things.
I've walked on boardwalks that aren't at ground level.
That's
Come
not.
out of a hotel and there's a boardwalk and it goes to stretches along.
Where does it start?
We
though?
have
In a
different.
hotel.
We have different definitions of domains on Shabbos. The width has to do with it. The height has to do with it. It's a complicated area. There are 4 different domains. There's a public domain, there is just a rabbim.
I get all that.
There's a private domain.
I get all that. I
Okay,
understand all that.
so
I'm still trying,
I'm-
in my mind, I'm trying to process.
but this is where you're going.
No, because what I read is it says during the Shemitah year, you're permitted to walk beyond,
If you are above, I'm sorry, go ahead.
it says it right there.
What?
He's focused-
During the sabbatical year, all
second
walking is
paragraph.
considered to be above
How about-
the height of 10 handbreadths, which, as we explained, is permitted even on the Sabbath. That's
What
the-
is permitted?
The Arizal
No,
says it.
but
No,
it
listen
just
to
says
me. What is
walking,
permitted?
Walking above 10 handbraces is what permitted.
That's-
Not all walking.
You're a lawyer. Where's your clauses?
Only the walking
didn't
above,
read a clause there. I'm
It-
sorry.
Only
it
the-
m-
I'm just
is
saying,
permitted
I don't wanna
even,
beat a dead horse here.
it's not, is permitted even on Shabbos, modifies the clause,
Forget the
above,
English, read it in Hebrew. What does it say in the Hebrew? What is the Arizal?
above
say?
a height of 10 handbreadths. That walking on Shabbos is permitted to walk 10 handbreadths above the ground. That's what it says. On Shabbos, if you're on posts that protrude 10 handbreadths above the ground, you're allowed to walk from post to post, even if you go beyond the boundaries of Shabbos. That's what it says.
It's a very easy misunderstanding. I
Yes.
misunderstood it at first also. It's not saying, what it's not saying is that during Shemitah on Shabbat,
you could
you
walk
can walk
everywhere.
past 2,000
So there
It's
is a
not saying that.
boundary, there's a
It's not saying
boundary in Shemitah year.
During Shemitah year on Shabbat.
On Shabbat, you're
there
saying
is
There's still a boundary.
There's still a boundary.
Okay, because again, I'm having trouble with the English with that.
The English is.
I'm just telling you.
I also
asking
had.
you
I
to
also
read the
did.
Hebrew.
The Hebrew says, "Ki chol halicha b'shvius," all goings on Shvius on the Shemitah. It creates the mala me'esrei is called above 10 handbreadths. Asher afilu b'Shabbat hutar, and that even on Shabbos it's mutter. That meaning walking on Shabbat above 10 handbreadths
Is
is
allowed.
allowed.
Yeah.
It's not saying that during Shemitah on Shabbat you can walk
Everywhere.
past 2,000 amot just because it's allowed during Shemitah.
Remember this, Rudy.
Yeah.
If the baby doesn't like its milk cold, boil it.
Oh.
Is that one of the rules we had before?
I think so.
Is that one of those? Because I just,
Okay.
That's
Okay.
Trump's directions to the
Yeah.
border agents, separating families. No, okay? Do you understand what I'm saying?
Okay, I don't wanna beat a dead horse. It's fine.
Don't tell me you haven't heard that before.
Probably didn't.
No, it's
Okay,
it's not.
where are we?
it's
Are we on
very-
this?
I understand.
Once, when you read it in the Hebrew.
Yeah, yeah.
it's, a bit-
Yeah.
it's more
Yeah, no,
meaning,
I
it's
also
more meaningful
misunderstood.
that
Did
way.
I read the but? I think I read, did I read?
You did.
Yeah.
You can do it
Th-
again.
This, I don't want to do it.
Obviously, it didn't have a big impact. We're not sure. It's
But
nothing-
in the,
no
sa-
harm
but in
reading
the
it.
sabbatical year, Malchus does not ascend together with them, for they ascend to the level of Chesed, Gevur, and Tiferes, while she remains below in their former level. Thus, the supernal legs are not treading on her. This is exactly similar to the case of the ship described above, in which travel beyond the boundaries is permitted, since the prohibition does not apply above 10 handbreadths. This, then, is the mystical meaning of the verse describing the sabbatical year, and the ground will rest, a Shabbos for Hashem. The ground signifies Malchus. It rests by itself, a rest similar to that of Shabbos, and by itself causes feminine water to ascend to Zer Anpin, referred to in this verse as Havaya.
Huh?
Because it's saying, though,
Okay. By itself causes feminine
I
water
skipped, yeah.
to ascend.
No.
Okay.
it says, and the ground will rest, a Shabbos for Hashem, Havaya. So it's referring back to that. So the ground,
Yeah,
sig-
that's what I was just thinking. It's really for Hashem that this happens,
the, yeah,
because he benefits from the feminine
yeah,
waters.
the ground signifies Malchus. It rests by itself, a rest similar to that of Shabbos, and by itself causes feminine waters to ascend to Zer Anpin, referred to in this verse as Havaya.
So Havai is referred to as
Yeah.
in that verse.
Shabbos LaHashem.
The central sephirus of Zer Anpin is Tiferes, which is associated with the name Havaya, Hashem's proper name. Since Malchus ascends by itself on the Shabbos, And on the sabbatical year, it is not necessary for us to actively engage in the process of elevating the sparks of holiness as we do during the work week. All we need to do to desist from the prohibited acts of work in order not to interfere with the divine consciousness operative during these periods of time.
So, wouldn't it be, it seems obvious to me that during Shemitah, in modern times, even, Shemitah only counts in Eretz Yisrael, it doesn't count in Galus, right? So,
Right.
in modern times in Eretz Yisrael, during Shemitah, that people shouldn't be allowed to do malacha, do paid work during the week either.
Why?
Because agriculture was simply their parnasa. That was their work.
Okay.
So wouldn't it, if someone's a programmer living in Israel during Shemitah, and that's how they make their money, it seems like during Shemitah in Israel, even nowadays.
What does the Torah say for? What does the Torah say for Shabbos?
What do you mean?
How does the Torah forbid work on Shabbos?
Work in the temple.
The agrarian work, the
38 plus 39
So
types
how
of
does the
work in
Torah
the
express
temple.
that?
It's the transformation of the earth.
The Torah says,
But the earth
how
had
does the Torah
first-
express it? The Torah
There's
says,
lots of ways. It's a very shot in the.
the Torah says, lo saseh kol
You should
malacha.
do no man-
Do not do malacha.
Malacha.
Okay,
Malacha.
work or labor.
Yeah.
So my point is that's just to my point about Shemitah in Eretz Yisrael during modern times. Wouldn't it be usher or prohibited to do work during the week?
Regarding
I'm not
Shabbos,
talking about turning the television on, or writing a letter, or sewing. I'm talking about. In this case, it seems like agriculture is their means of making
The
money.
Shemitah year is for
Is
resting.
their means of making money, right? So wouldn't any modern job
But
on Shemitah in
Isn't
Israel
it-
be?
Isn't
the
it applied
Shemitah-
to the first five-ish,
The
to be
Shemitah-
agriculture
The
ones?
Shemitah year is
solely-
referred to the ground, though.
I know that.
The ground-
I
we
understand.
So
talked about
therefore,
that
it would not
in-
apply to other forms of work.
There are
I
other,
understand,
out of the
but my
39.
point of what I'm saying is that during that time period, agriculture was the
The
main.
first,
work.
there were 39 forms.
That was
okay?
the main work.
But and if you,
38
That's
plus
how you
one.
fed your family.
So.
But
so
if
wait,
you
wait,
just-
wait, wait.
if you
Yeah, but
did that,
what's prohibited?
then a shochet wouldn't be able to work.
The
You wouldn't have meat the whole year long.
first five, I think, are agricultural
You
in
wouldn't be able to do an
context.
accounting
I'm
of
not sure that
things.
the
You wouldn't be
rest
able to
are.
buy or
They're
sell
not all
goods.
agricultural in
I
context.
thought it's all the 38.
Okay.
I didn't think so.
That's the answer.
Yes.
That's the answer.
38 of the 39 are all.
All agriculture?
That's the answer. That's a good answer.
I didn't
Okay.
think so.
Is that correct, or?
I know
What?
we're listening.
I
so
didn't
it's
think-
not-
38 of
That's
the
fine.
39.
As long as you
That was my
understand.
question, yeah.
As long as you
They're
understand.
not all agriculture.
no,
No.
I think 11.
11 of them?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's not.
If I'm
it's
not
the-
mistaken.
It's the first grouping of them, whatever they are.
Yes, the first group.
Our agriculture, the balance or not. That's where the issue is, out of the 30.
He's all set.
Okay, they're not all
That-
agriculture.
Yeah. No,
Regard.
that wasn't my. that
But,
wasn't my
but anyway,
question.
that's where we were.
Well, thank you, Ellen, for taking care. Regarding Shabbos, the Torah says not to do melacha,
Yeah,
work.
yeah.
And then we have a whole way to figure out what is the work
It's work.
that is forbidden on Shabbos. It's a very
He
generic,
was talking about Shemitah year, the whole year.
I'm not talking about Shabbos.
I know. I'm getting there.
Oh.
I'm showing you through contrast. Okay? It says melacha. Melacha is a very generic, general term.
Right.
Everything's forbidden. When it comes to Shemitah, the Torah says very specifically that the land should rest as Shabbos for Hashem. Vishavsa haaretz, the land should rest. 6 years you should plant and prune the vineyard and to gather the harvest or the grain. On the 7th year is a year of Shabbos. Shabbos means of rest. Should be for the ground.
Right.
Doesn't say that you shouldn't work.
I understand.
Okay,
I
there's a
understand that.
huge,
Yeah.
huge
That's what we're
difference.
talking
about.
And then it says specifically, you shouldn't plant your field, you shouldn't prune your vineyard,
Right.
I get it.
you
I
shouldn't
understand.
harvest.
It's,
My question's satisfied. I was just thinking because
Those are
in
very,
that time period,
those are,
it felt
those are
like
specific.
I understand.
the main
Specific.
source of
Specific.
income was agriculture.
so the Torah doesn't say not to earn income. The Torah is very specific about what not to do. On Shabbos, it says melacha. And then we have to have our whole understanding to figure out what are those categories of malacha and what's included and what's not included, and we rely on different hints in Torah and on the and on the rabbinic tradition.
Yeah.
But here the Torah is very specific about what not to do.
Yep.
And the last paragraph says, the meaning of a Shabbos for Hashem is thus that this type of rest does not require us to do anything to actualize it. This is also the meaning of the phrases, and the Shabbos of the earth, and the earth will rest, for the sabbatical year applies only to the earth, which manifests Malchus, and not to any of the spheres above it. So it's only to the earth.
So I wanted to know, in either conversational or colloquial Hebrew, how do you refer to the word work? Is it avoda? Is it malchus? If you're in Israel and you say, I'm going to work,
Avodah.
avodah, right?
And what how is malacha used today, and what I'm not sure. I would guess labor.
Okay, because by no coincidence, the malacha also is malchus, right? There's a, why it's the same letters,
Malacha has an aleph in it,
okay?
which is a silent partner, silent letter.
Yeah.
Does it share letters? Might we read someday in the Arizal that there's a connection? But
Probably
it's
is. It's not by
there's an extra aleph, so you might be able to make
Yeah,
some kind of
malchus.
midrashic, but etymologically, they are not related.
Okay.
Some are clearly agricultural, some are not. You just pull them. Whether it's 11 or 3 or whatever.
Well, it sounds to me like it's more than 11.
But I mean, those are your 39, your 40 minus 1.
Yeah.
These are the forms. Joel.
The others, the next has to do with preparing the hides for writing.
Thank you.
Okay. Which still kind of ties back to agriculture.
I'm sorry, not for writing, for materials.
Yeah, writing
Clothing.
to letters. or
Clothing.
Racing.
Okay.
Like shearing
Yeah.
and so on.
Anyway,
Okay, so malacha today probably is used as labor as opposed to work.
So this is probably the longest chapter that we've studied.
It's 30
since
pages.
we started, and it's all in the heart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This was all in the heart.
it's all the heart.
And it was predominantly discussing Shemitah.
Yeah. Shemitah and Shabbos.
And Shabbos.
Which Shemitah is a form of Shabbos.
This was the
So
title.
if it's
The
okay,
Sabbath and the sabbatical year.
Yeah, so it's interesting why that would be in the heart.
we're having Myriv in about 15 minutes or so. We finish a chapter, and how big's the next one?
At some point, we have to have a seal, right?
3 years.
3 years?
We're
Are we at the midway point? or-
way past.
Yeah,
We've
past
been
the-
4 years. We have about 3 years left. I
We're-
think it
we're-
goes to 1100. So rather than begin,
And then there's
If it's okay.
Sefer Gilgulim.
I think we'll just start over again. We'll play it safe. We'll play it safe.
No, I think a sense translated, recently came out of Google.
Next
In
one's
3 years, we're going to be reading the brand new Shabbat Sefer.
Yes.
Next
So
time.
That would be-
I'll go through the Shalah a little bit, what he says about the Tchum Shabbos. Tchum, the borders of where you're allowed to walk on Shabbos. Oh, that's exactly what we said. I'm going to start with later, and then I'll come back. So Shabbos is called Tchum. Tchum, if you scramble the letters, you get Chosam. Chosam is the seal. Chosam,
What does Tchum mean?
Tchum,
There's
it's
a border.
like the
or-
borders.
Or, okay.
And Chosam equals 454. So Tchum is 454, but more commonly we find it in Chosam in the seal. What is 454? If you take Hashem's name, Ekia, that we talked about, right? Hashem said, I will be what I will be at the burning bush.
At the bush. Mhm.
And Ekia by itself, do you guys remember offhand? 21. Okay. But if you take the Milui, if you expand the letters for Ekia, Aleph itself, Aleph is Aleph 1, Lamed 30, and Pei is 80. So the letter Aleph expanded is 111. Right there, you're jumping far ahead of what we've had with Yud Kei Vav Kei. So Aleph is 111. So again, we have two Heys, Aleph and then Hey, and then Yud and then Hey. So Aleph is 111. The Yud is Yud Vav Daled, which is 20. So right there, you get 131. The problem is, the joker in the deck is the Hey, the letter Hey. Are you going to spell it Hey Aleph? You're going to spell it Hey Hey, or you spell it Hey Yud, right? Just like we had with Hashem's name. So if you spell it Hey Yud, then each Hey is worth 15. So that's 131. And 15 and 15 will give us 161. If you spell it Hey Hey, then you have Aleph 111, Yud 20 makes 131. And Hey Hey is 10, and Hey Hey is 10. So 131 and 20 gives us 151. If you spell the letter Hey, or the letters Hey, as Hey Aleph, that's a total of 6. So Aleph is 111, Yud is 20, gives you 131, plus 6 plus 6. 143. Here's where I need to think. So 161 plus 151 gives us 300. 312, 312. And plus 143 is 312 is 412. 454. What did we say was Chosam? Tchum or Chosam was 154.
454.
454. It says there's a kolel here somewhere, so maybe our number was on one off. Okay, so in other words, Tchum Shabbos, the border of Shabbos, is the Chosam, could be seal, and that is the 3 different expanded spellings of Hashem's name Ekia.
Yeah.
454. And a Chosam, a seal, is something that protects, that the klippas shouldn't enter into the 2,000 amas until Shabbos is over. Then the seal is released. Hold on. Does he say it here? And we have a rule. He says, here, the next paragraph. Hashem said, I will be what I will be. So I will be is Ekia. and that is, we have a rule, and a very famous rule, that the seal of Hashem is, anyone? Emes. The seal of Hashem is truth. That's the seal is chosam. When Hashem said, "I will be what I will be," so it's talking about His seal, which is truth, because how much did we say the Nemekia was by itself? 21. I will be what I will be is 21. Is 21 squared? What's 21 times 21?
You use one of those things.
Is 21 times 10 is 210, plus another 210
Not on
is
me.
420, 441. 441 is MS.
Oh.
The name Ekia, I will be
Squared.
what I will be.
Squared
Ekia, Asher Ekia,
is
21
MS.
times 21
Is MS.
is the same as MS,
That's
441.
That's unbelievable.
And MS is the seal of Hashem.
That just blew me away.
Where did it say that you have to square 21? It says you square 21.
Because it says, Hashem said, I will be what I will be. Ekyeh, Asher, Ekyeh.
21 times 21.
Wait, so
Is
what's
true.
what's closer than what's MS? What's the
Wow.
what's the I was in and out.
Was what?
I was in and out.
That one I.
So
So
That one,
Tchu-
Chosam, the seal, is the same as Tchum,
Tchum.
the borders of Shabbos.
Yeah. And
What?
can you read?
Did you do the? Were you here for the three Ekyehs?
Seal is MS, right? MS is 441.
And the seal of Hashem is MS.
So you take 21
I will
times
be.
21 is
I will be. 21 times 21 is.
So
is
And Chosam is this. The seal is the three. Is the Ekyeh. Is Aleph is one expanded. Aleph Lamed Pei is 111. The Yud is always 20 expanded, and then the letter Hey could be spelled Hey Aleph, Hey Hey, or Hey Yud. So if it's spelled Hey Yud, then Aleph Hey Yud Hey with expanded spelling is 161. Aleph Hey Yud Hey with expanded with but spelling the Hey as Hey Hey is 151.
51, and then we
And
added
if you
those.
spell it the Hey as Hey Aleph,
Right.
then it comes out to 143. 143, 151, and 161 is 454 Tchum, or
Same
Chosam, the seal of
boundary.
Hashem, which is the Tchum of Shabbos.
So that's
Okay?
the boundary.
So he says here, Netzach is what we learned.
Yeah.
I'm going back to the beginning now.
Yeah.
Netzach Hod Yesod,
Yeah.
in Asiya, arise to
Yeah.
Chesed Gvura Tiferes. We learned that.
We learned that, yeah.
And then there's left an empty space. What's the Hebrew word for empty space?
We
Or
learned
for
that, too.
space, like up there?
Yeah.
Chalal,
What?
Chalal, Hapanui.
Chalal. Okay? Chalal is Ches Lamed Lamed is what?
Is 68.
And what's 68? Chaim. The
It's
life,
all about you.
it's all about me. The life of the klippas transcend. And then they grab on to a place that's now empty space. But their highest, their energy, left them. And they are left Mosa. Mosa means dead. They're left without life. They're left dead. Someone who does malacha fills this empty space. And the klipa enters.
Yeah.
And I guess it enters where it was before. Hod, Yesod, and Netzach are the three parsa. And Malchus is included in them. Each parsa has how much many meal in a parsa? 4 meal in a parsa. Parsang. If you want to look it up, the English word is Parsang.
Great word.
So a meal, the definition of a meal, by the way, I didn't want to get into it. It says it was a Roman mile. It's not clear today for us to figure out exactly how much. The time that's given is 18 minutes. The time that it takes to walk, 18 minutes. Right, and they say generally people walk about 3 miles an hour
18 minutes.
around. So 18 minutes, why do we have 18 minutes? Why is it significant in some places? Because that's like we light Shabbos candles 18 minutes before, because that's how long it takes to walk a meal.
That's no chametz.
Yes. So that it could be that's how they did chametz, the same amount that it takes to walk a meal. So, but there are 4 meal in a parsa. So parsa is 72 minutes. 4 meal in a parsa gives us how many meal altogether in 4 meal? 3 parsas. 3 parsas for Netzach, Hod, and Yesod. So it gives us 12 meal in total. In olden days, they didn't have this great power. Klipos were powerful. You were able to walk the entire 12 according to Torah law, 12 meal. But after the Churban, after the destruction, the Klipos became stronger, and they entered half of Netzach until half of Netzach, which I guess is 1/6. That's why instead of 12,000 feet, you can walk 12,000 steps. You can only do 2,000 steps.
You used
1/6.
to be able to walk 12,000 during the times of
By
Beis
Torah,
Mikdash?
there are different opinions, but in some places it says that by Torah law you can do 12,000 steps, and by rabbinic law they limited it to only 2,000 steps. So it's 1/6. That's because half of Netzach. And then it says Shmuel told Shaul when he took away the king, the royalty, the line from him. When he took away the royal line from him, he
Still
said,
blown away with,
Hashem's not going to.
Akiv. Yeah,
He says-
I'm just so blown away.
Hashem's not going to change. That's why I started with it. He says Hashem's not going to change his mind. How did he say Hashem's not going to change his mind? He said, "V'gam netzach Yisrael lo yeshaker." The eternal of Israel will not lie. Which means that he won't lie in entirety, but for a part of it or half, there is some grab where Klippa can grab on.
Did you ever turn it off?
It's a bonus.
And that's why Tchum Shabbos is within Netzach. We're allowed to go within Netzach, the 2,000 Amas. And then it says Tchum is Chosim and so on. Yeah, okay, that's why I went there first.
Delicious.
I'm not sure if this is in the English. The thing with Emes, I think, is not. I don't think they translated this parse. There are different fonts and different sizes. And it's very hard to. So I don't know what exactly is in. So I don't think it translated those. Yes, Shalah. It's the Shalah. I got a picture from someone in Israel this week, Rabbi Gritsky, at the Shalah.
Where is it buried?
Right near on the pathway up to the Rambam.
In Tveria?
To fear.
In Tveria?
Okay.